This episode is brought to you by Pentester Academy, the leader of online cybersecurity education. Join more than 10,000 professionals from over 120 countries to learn security online. I am Damien from Pentester Academy TV, and I want to welcome you to another episode of The Toolbox, where we showcase the latest and greatest open source tools. Add them to your tool collection today. Let's take a look at HTTP request smuggling detection tool by Anshuman.
First of all, I would like to thank Pentester Academy for giving me the opportunity to present HTTP request smuggling detection tool work. I really appreciate it, and thank you, Damian, for having me on the show. So, who am I? I am Anshuman Patnaik. I work as a Python developer, and I'm in the software industry for more than around 8 years now. And I worked on various tech stacks like full stack development in Django, React.js and Node.js, and backend microservices development using Django REST framework and Node.js as well. And also I worked on mobile application development also using Android and React Native. And I'm more interested in cybersecurity field, especially web security, application security, and bug bounty. Also, I do participate in Bugcrowd and HackerOne program. And also, I am the creator of HackBot1 website. The website focuses on making content from application security and software development. And also, I'm an active open source contributor on my GitHub. I develop various kinds of applications, and some of my applications already got featured in GitHub trending board, dev communities, and InfoSec community as well. So I would like to thank everyone for appreciating my work. And if you want to connect with me, then feel free to follow me on Twitter at ANS Patnaik. So the content for today's presentation is, first I'll give a small overview of what is HTTP request smuggling, how to perform HTTP request smuggling attack, and how can we detect HTTP request smuggling. Next, I will explain the payload.json file, which contains different sets of permits to detect HRS vulnerability. Then I'll give a demo of my tool, and I'll take few minutes for Q&A. So HTTP request smuggling was first discovered by Watchfire back in 2005. And on August 2019, HRS vulnerability got rediscovered by James Cattell, who is the director of research at Portstrigger, and he presented his research at DEFCON 27 and Black Hat USA. And the HRS vulnerability allows an attacker to smuggle an ambiguous HTTP request as a second request over the same TCP connection to bypass the security controls of a website and gain access to unauthorized sensitive data to perform malicious activities. So now let's discuss how can we exploit this vulnerability, and what are the variants. So to exploit this vulnerability, it requires placing both content length header and transfer encoding header in a single HTTP request. And as per the HTTP specification, there are two different ways to end a request: the content length header and the transfer encoding header. And the content length header specifies the length of the message body, and transfer encoding header specifies the message body contain one or more chunks of data, and the chunk size followed by a new line with chunk contents. And the most important thing to perform HTTP request smuggling attack in real system, we need to follow RFC 2616 specification, and which states that when both content length and transfer encoding header are present in one single HTTP request, then the content length header should be ignored. It's because to resolve the conflicts when the target website runs only one single server, but this doesn't apply when two or more servers are chained together. And if we find a way to hide transfer encoding header, then we can exploit desynchronization between front-end server and back-end server. So there are three different ways to exploit this vulnerability: the cl.te, te.cl, and te.te. So let's discuss first the CL.T vulnerability. The CL.T means front-end server uses content length header and the backend server uses transfer encoding header, and we can smuggle an HTTP request as follows. And in this sample HTTP request, the front-end server process content length header, which is 14 bytes long, and up to the end of smuggling, and forwards the request to the backend server. Then the backend server process the transfer encoding header. It processes the first chunk, which means the zero length, which is zero length. That means it returns to terminate the request, and so the remaining bytes are left unprocessed. And so as you can see in the in the response body, the message is shown as unrecognized method smuggling 0 post, and it's because the unprocessed byte is the start of the next request. That is the architecture, and that's why the response came as unrecognized method smuggling 0 ports. Now let's discuss the TCL vulnerability. So TCL vulnerability means the front-end server uses transfer encoding header and backend server uses content length header. And in this sample HTTP request, the front-end server process the transfer encoding header and process the first chunk, which is 9 bytes long, and up to the end of smuggling. But the second chunk, which is 0 length, and that means it will terminate the request, and the backend server process the content length header, which is 3 byte long. So it will process up to start of line 9, but the remaining bytes are again left unprocessed, and the backend server process the unprocessed byte as the start of the next request. That's why in the response, as you can see here, the same unrecognized method smuggling 0 post, the same what we observed in the CL.T, the same thing also we can see the T.CL, but the variants are a little bit different. So the last variant, which is the T.T. So now let's discuss about this vulnerability. So T.T means both front-end server and backend server uses transfer encoding header. But to exploit T.T vulnerability, we need to trick any one of the server not to process transfer encoding header. So in this sample HTTP request, as you can see in the request, there are 2 transfer encoding headers are defined, and in the second header, the encoding is in lowercase with the value space. Because of this technique, we can trick any one of the server not to process this header, so that our smuggle request will be successful. And also you can see here in the smuggling in the smuggle payload, in the second request body, as you can see, the chunk size is defined as 5C. It's in hexadecimal format, and if you convert it to this hexadecimal 5C to decimal, that the output will be 92. That means the chunk size is 92, and next, when the attacker smuggles this request, it will follow the same technique as CL.T and T.CL, what we have seen in the previous slide. And as a result, the backend server will process the unprocessed bytes again in the next request, and as always, the output again it will come the unprocessed method, the whatever the data is not processed in the previous request. So always, while exploiting HRS vulnerability, first try to exploit CL.T, then T.CL. So as of now, we understood how can we perform HTTP request smuggling attack. Now let's discuss how can we detect HRS vulnerability in a system. The most common way to detect this HRS vulnerability is to check the application's response time, because when we smuggle an ambiguous request, and if the vulnerability exists in a system, then definitely there will be a desynchronization between the front-end server and the back-end server, which will cause a delay in application response time. So as you can see here in the diagram also, you can see once the front-end server once we found a desync attack in between the front-end server and back-end server, then there will be a delay in the response time. So now let's discuss both CL.T and T.CL vulnerability. So if we look at this sample HTTP request, the front-end server process the request body up to Z as the content length is 4. Next, the backend process the first chunk, which is the chunk size is 1, and the backend server waits for the next chunk to arrive. This will cause a delay in response because as it's it will wait for the next chunks to arrive. So in this example, you can see here the response time is 10.82 seconds, which indicates that the application can be vulnerable to CL.T attack. Now for the similar for the T.CL also, the front-end server, you can see here it processes the first chunk and the chunk size is 0, and 0 means it will terminate the request and forwards only part of this request. Next, the backend server uses a content length header, which is length of 4, and waits for more content to arrive. That will cause a delay in response. The similar what we have seen in the CL.T also, the same thing it will happen for the T.CL also. And in this example, the response time you can see here 10.29 seconds. That indicates the application can be vulnerable to T.CL attack. But the main thing we need to understand, the detection technique can be false positive also. So before whatever technique we discussed at the beginning of our presentation, we need to apply those to confirm the HRS vulnerability. So by following the James Cattell HRS detection methodology, I have developed a detection tool using Python. And by using this tool, we can identify whether the application is vulnerable to CL.T or T.CL. And to detect this vulnerability more accurately, the tool has built-in payload, which has around 38 permutes and detection payloads for both CL.T and T.CL variant. And these permutes are used to trick the backend server and frontend server to process content length and transfer encoding header in a different way, so that we can process the smuggle request. Also, one more thing I want to mention here, that if you found any new permutes, then feel free to send a pull request so that I will add it to the payload.json file. So next, how to use this tool. The tool has different sets of options, like you can increase the timeout value and change the method from get to post, and the most useful option is the retry option. So by following the retry option, we can retry the payload for multiple times. And as per the methodology, in a live system, you need to try the payload multiple times to detect HRS vulnerability. And these are the two below sample commands. Either you can use a single URL or you can use a multiple URLs, and you can keep all the URLs in a text file. So before going for the tool demo, I would like to mention some of the security disclaimer which is really required to understand before using this tool. So as per the exploitation technique to detect HRS vulnerability, the tool sends the payloads for multiple times by using the retry flag. That means there is a possibility that the backend socket might get poisoned with the payloads, and any genuine visitor of that particular website might end up seeing the poison payload rather seeing the actual content of the website. So you should take proper precautions before scanning any of the target website. Otherwise, you will face some legal issues also. So next, let's start the demo of today's presentation. So I will be using Portsugar HRS lab to demonstrate both CL.T and T.CL. So this is the CL.T lab, and if you go forward, then you can see we need to go to CL.T lab, and once you access the lab, then it's a sample blogging website where you will detect CL.T vulnerability. And to test any of the URL, just we need to copy the URL, then we need to go to the tool and we need to enter a command called python3 smuggle.py -u and the target URL. Next, once you hit enter, as you can see, it started applying the permits one by one. At first it will check for cl.t, then t.cl, and also you can see the response time for every detection technique. And as you can see here, it's able to detect the cl.t vulnerability in the target website, and the response time is around 10.76 seconds. So it will generate one report for every detection technique. So if we go forward, then it will generate one report for every permutes, and so that you can refer these payloads to confirm the HRS vulnerability. So next we can see the demo for t.cl. Let me skip the video a little bit. So for the t.cl also we'll follow the same process again. So this we will just access the lab, and so again it's like sample blogging website, and so the same thing, we need to copy the URL and just paste the same thing again, and we need to follow the same command python3 smuggle.py -u and the target URL. So as you can see, it's the same. It's started with the cl.t, then for the t.cl, and right now it's waiting, and for the t.cl also it can able to identify. Yes, it can able to detect this target website might be vulnerable to HTTP request smuggling, and the same way it will generate one report like what we have observed for the cl.t. Next, one more option also we will see for how can we try both the URLs in one text file, so that we can trigger this vulnerability. We can detect this vulnerability for multiple URLs also. So let me go to the video, and we'll just the same process again, and just we need to copy both of the URLs. And paste both the URLs in a text file. So called urls.txt, and after pasting the URLs, we need to follow one command python3 smuggle.py -u, then urls.txt, which is the file name. Then once we enter the command, then we need to hit enter, and first it will take the first URL, and it will start the detection. Then once it's finished, then it will take the next URL. So let me skip little bit. You can see once it's finished the first URL, it started picking the next URL. So this option, it's quite helpful when you are targeting for a large website, because in every target website we need to try all the URLs to detect this HRS vulnerability. So this option it will be helpful. We need to just paste all the URLs in one text file, and we can use this command. So the last demonstration is for the retry flag. That is python3 smuggle.py, the target website, and the retry flag is the -r in the retry count. And as you can and the main thing I would like to mention, this retry flag is very much useful, because as I mentioned earlier, we need to detect the HRS vulnerability. We need to apply the payloads for multiple times. So you can see here the cl.t is applied for 4 times, and t.cl also same, it's applying for 4 times. So this flag actually is very useful to while exploiting a large website. So this is the overall demo of my tool. So, and let me go to my presentation. Yeah, I'll just stop this. So to build this tool, I took the reference from Portsugar research contents, and I will also recommend you to go through Portsugar blogs to know more about this HTTP request smuggling vulnerability. And this is the featured section, and the project work was highly appreciated by various InfoSec community and featured in their platforms. And I would like to thank all the author of all of these blogs for featuring my work. And also one more thing, if you are writing blogs about this tool, then please share the links to your blog, and I will add your blog link to the Hackbot War featured section. So that will be the end of my presentation, and I hope you find this presentation helpful. Please clone smuggling GitHub tool. If you have any question or suggestion, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Anshuman, once again for your presentation and your demo that you had done earlier on. It was very interesting, very useful, and very exciting ones. I have two questions for you, before we end off this Toolbox program series. What inspired you to create these tools in the first place?
Yeah, so when James Kettle presented his research at DEF CON 27 and Black Hat USA, and at that time when I watched his presentation about the HTTP request smuggling, at that time only I observed what are the exploit he did during his research. That part I'm just curious to know, and to be honest, at that time I didn't understand a single slide at all, because HTTP request smuggling is too complex, and I took a lot of time to understand. And also the most thing, the Portsugar research blog, during my presentation, what are the blogs I have mentioned, the Portsugar blog links and the white paper also. I took a lot of time to read those blogs and white papers a lot, and also the HTTP request smuggler, the GitHub tool which James has built for the Bob suite as a Bob extension. That one also I took time to review the complete code to understand the exploitation technique, the detection technique a lot. So based on that, even if after reading all the theoretical and all the analysis, I try to do the implementation, because still there are lots of things I have the doubt that whether, let's see practically, we can able to detect this or not. And also I like to thank the Portsugar Academy team to develop the labs, the CL.T lab and all the HTTP request smuggling lab, and that helps me a lot to test my detection tool. So yeah, so after doing the research for months and gone through all the materials and all the details, so I thought it's good to make one detection tool to understand more practically, and also it will be helpful to contribute to the InfoSec community. Yeah.
Wow, this topic must have interested you quite a lot, that you put in so much month of effort to research and build the whole detection tool that we have seen today. My second question to you, is there any aspect in the tools that you would like the community to continue to contribute in building it?
Yeah. So yeah, there are so many developments are still yet to be done, because HTTP request smuggling it's not over yet, and only in few weeks back James Kettle again he exploited the HTTP request smuggling for the HTTP 2 version. And so in my current implementation, that it's only version 1. There are lots of research, and there are more development are yet to be done. So I would like the community to step in and contribute to my repo about all the any techniques. So let's say in terms of payload.json file, which JSON file I've shown in the slides for the payloads, in terms of any kinds of core implementation related to either HTTP 1.1 or HTTP 2. So yeah, so it will be more helpful for me also to understand this vulnerability in more depth, because when James exploit this vulnerability. After that, if you see the bug bounty reports, mostly on the HackerOne activity reports, then there are lots of security professionals and researchers exploited this vulnerability in a live system. So those techniques also we can implement this into my tool, so that it will be like a complete automation tool. So yeah, so it will be helpful if the community will contribute to this repository.
Thank you so much. It's so inspiring, so much effort that you have put in terms of the research and, to build this tool. I do really hope that the community can reach out to you to build, to make the tool more comprehensive, more automations and stuff like that. And what you have really asked the community to reach out to you to work more on. And I think it's a fantastic tools that you have built and what you have done. Thank you so much for coming on board, taking the time off, to explain about the vulnerability and also the tools that you have built, which that help people to understand much better on HTTP. Smartly. Thank you so much.
You. Thank you. Yes, sure. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, Anshuman, once again for coming on board to this episode of the Toolbox. For more information of this tool, do see our description box below. Subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for the next episode of the Toolbox.